another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I know it's late on this Sunday night, but I know a lot of people are enjoying some off time because of the holiday. So hopefully there'll be some people come on here and jump in live. If you do jump on here live, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like and a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do so. It takes about 2 seconds. It helps the channel out tremendously. The new college football AP poll came out earlier today, so I'm going to talk about that sometime this week. It'll probably be tomorrow. I've actually got to come on here sometime this week and talk about Survivor Series because it's coming up on Saturday. I would go ahead and do it now, but they've only announced 3 matches as far as the written in stone matches that we know are going to happen, not the rumored matches, but we know there's going to be more than 3 matches. So I'm trying to wait a few days to see how many more matches they're going to post, because we know there'll be at least 5, maybe only 5, but there'll be more than 3. But today I want to talk some AEW and I want to talk some NFL. There's still one game going on right now for Sunday Night Football, the Eagles and the Rams. The game is over with scoreboard-wise. It was close in the first half. The second half's been all Eagles. They're up right now by 20 plus, but the game is not over yet, so we know the Eagles will win, but we just don't know what the final score will be. But there really wasn't a lot of NFL games that looked intriguing today, but we know that the NFL, unlike college football, very, very rarely do you see an NFL score where one team wins by 30 plus. It just doesn't happen because there's parity in the NFL. But there was a couple of upsets today, so that's why I want to talk some NFL. Now, the best NFL game of the weekend is going to be tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, the Chargers and the Ravens. The Chargers are coming on strong, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with come playoff time. And the Ravens just don't look as good this year. I'm not sure what's wrong, but they just don't look near as good this year. But back on Thursday night, the Browns beat the Steelers 24-19. Hey there, I'm going to assume that's Lilith. Glad to have you here. Please give the video a like and a thumbs up. The Steelers are just a sloppy football team that just has an average at best offense, but they have a really good defense. They've already won 2 games this year with field goals. They had 7 field goals in one game, 6 field goals in one game. But Thursday night, their defense wasn't near as good as it normally is. They tried to come back late, but it was a little too late. Thank you for liking the channel. I appreciate that, Lilith. Hey there, Ronnie. Glad to have you here. But one of the upsets today was the Titans and the Texans. And just like I said a while ago about another team, the Texans just don't look near as good this year. I'm not sure exactly what's wrong. I think they'll still win that division because the division is not any good. But as good as the Texans were last year, you'd have thought this year they were going to come back and win 11 or 12 games. They might not win 10, but I think they'll still win that division. But they lose to the Titans 32-27. The Titans get their 3rd win of the year, and then the Vikings defeat the Bears. The game goes to overtime. The Vikings win it 30-27. The Vikings have to find a way to take all these wins and convert them into postseason wins, because it seems like they have the regular season figured out now. They have really good regular seasons, and then they go to the playoffs and they get beat in the first round almost every year, if not maybe second round. But I mean, they're no threat to go to the big game, and you can't win 11, 12, 13 games in the regular season every single year and then go to the playoffs and fizzle out. You've got to do something in the playoffs. Another upset was the Cowboys. They beat their arch rival, the Commanders, 34-26. The game started out so slow, it looked like the first team to 17 might win the game. But the Commanders started out 7-2, and now they've lost 3 in a row. So at the 7-2 start, it looked like they had a chance to win the division and at least, at worst, have a chance for a wild card. Now the way the Eagles are playing, I think the division hopes are gone, but they could still compete for a wild card as long as they win again. But they're kind of sort of falling back down to where they were supposed to be. They were only picked to win 5 or 6 games this year, but they came out of the gate strong. In the last couple of weeks, they've looked like what the Commanders were supposed to look like. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Giants 30-7. Ronnie, you're an Oklahoma fan. I think you might be the first Sooner fan that I've had comment here on the channel, so I appreciate you watching and supporting your Oklahoma Sooners, no matter who you support. I appreciate you being here. Please give the video a like and a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. The Lions win again. They defeat the Colts 24-6, and I think I saw that it's the Lions' first 10-1 start since like 1934. And it's funny because Thanksgiving's coming up, and the Lions have played on Thanksgiving pretty much my entire lifetime. Every year Thanksgiving, the Lions always play and the Cowboys always play. But growing up, it felt like it was part of a tradition on Thanksgiving to watch the Lions because it was the only game on lunchtime on Thanksgiving. But also, back in the day, the Lions were so bad that really, truly, the only time they were on TV was Thanksgiving. So you watched because it was the only time you had a chance to watch them, and they were always so bad, you felt like you wanted to show them love and support by watching them the one time they were on TV. But now they're so good, they're pretty much on TV every single week. And now I'm not so sure that they don't dominate their Thanksgiving game coming up on Thursday. But the Lions always play on Thanksgiving. Now, they were decent back when they had Barry Sanders, but when he retired, they went through about a decade where they were just flat out awful. Hey there, Abraham. Glad to have you here. The Broncos win again. They're going to be another team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with come playoff time because their offense is getting a little better every week, and their defense is top 5 in the NFL, has been all year long, but their offense is slowly getting better. And we know that Sean Payton is an offensive genius. They defeat the Raiders 29-19. The Seahawks defeat the Cardinals in a slugfest 16-6. And whenever this Eagles and Rams game finishes, in that division, you're going to have the Seahawks at 6-5, the Cardinals at 6-5, and then the Rams at 5-6, and the 49ers at 5-6. So the winner of that division might not win 9 games. Hey there, Real. Glad to have you here. You're a Packers fan. I'm fixing to mention the Packers. They dominate the 49ers 38-10. And the Packers have a short week coming up because they'll be the 3rd NFL game coming up on Thanksgiving night. And they play the Dolphins. I believe it seems like ever since the NFL added a 3rd Thanksgiving game, it's always the Dolphins, it's always the Lions, always the Cowboys. And it seems like off the top of my head that ever since they added that 3rd primetime game, it's pretty much the Dolphins. And now, like I said, we have the Eagles and Rams still playing. And tomorrow night we have the Chargers and the Ravens. Going to be the best NFL game of the weekend. The Bucs are now only 1 game behind the Falcons in that division. People talk about that division being so bad, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I'll say it's average because I think the Bucs and Falcons are both going to finish with winning records, but it's not as bad as the NFC West. Not near as bad as the NFC West. And it's not as bad as the Texans division, who might go 9-8 and win their division by 2 games. I'm not sure that any other team in that division finishes above 500. But let's go ahead and talk some AEW, because Full Gear took place last night in New Jersey. Had 12 matches, counting the pre-show. Of course, you can get on YouTube and watch the 0-hour pre-show for free. But on the pre-show, Anna Jay beat Deonna Purrazzo. Buddy Matthews beat Dante Martin, Commander, and the Beast Mortos. And Big Boom AJ defeated QT Marshall. Def D, you're a Florida State fan. Well, glad to have you here. I know you're looking forward to Saturday, and you might not be looking forward to it too much because Florida State's had a bad year, but you always get excited about playing your rivals. And I know us fans always say, throw the record books out the window. It's a rivalry. That's just one of those things that just gives fans something to talk about. But 9 times out of 10, even on rivalry games, the better team always wins. But Florida State's had a long year, so it'd be a nice way to end the season by pulling off what would be a massive upset, especially ever since DJ Lagway become Florida's quarterback. They look a lot better. Main card kicked off with Private Party defeating the Outrunners, Kings of Black, and the Acclaimed to retain the AEW Tag Team Championships. MJF beat Roderick Strong, and my twin boys now both want a Roderick Strong action figure. I think they've got an action figure of just about every single male wrestler in WWE and AEW. They don't want no female wrestlers, just male wrestlers. Mercedes Moné defeated Chris Statlander to retain the TBS Championship, and I was reading articles of people talking about how Mercedes Moné finally had a good match, and I was thinking, yeah, she wrestled Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander's a good wrestler. Chris Statlander made Jade Cargill look good, and that's hard to do. Jay White defeated Hangman Adam Page. Kyle Fletcher beat Will Ospreay. Daniel Garcia defeated Jack Perry to become the new TNT champion. Konosuke Takeshita beat Ricochet to retain the International Championship. Bobby Lashley beat Swerve Strickland. And in the main event from Full Gear last night, Jon Moxley beat Orange Cassidy to retain the World Championship. Next game we will have, it'll be against LSU. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, hopefully Oklahoma can play as good as they played Saturday night. Ronnie, Oklahoma's had a pretty good defense all year long. They can't move the ball on offense. And they didn't really move the ball real good against Alabama. They only had 68 passing yards, but when you shut out the other team, you don't have to have a great offense. But it looked like Brent Venables had the Alabama offense figured out. And it's funny because when he was at Clemson as their defensive coordinator, his defenses looked really good against Alabama. Matter of fact, I think it was 2018, the year that Clemson won the national championship. And that was supposed to be the best Bama team we've ever seen. Clemson had no shot, had no chance. And the game was over at halftime because Bama couldn't move the ball. So Brent Venables has always had good success against Bama, but they have a completely different offensive coaching staff now than they had back then. But Jalen Milroe looked confused from the very first snap last night. So hopefully Oklahoma can finish off the season by getting probably a small upset. I have not seen the point spread in that game, but LSU's not great. So if LSU is favored, I'm sure they're only favored by 2 or 3 points. But I would love to see Oklahoma win that game. Every time Brian Kelly loses, it kind of makes me smile. And I'm not an Irish fan, but seeing Notre Dame get better without him and seeing LSU get no better with him kind of makes me smile because this is really the first big time coaching job Brian Kelly's had. I don't count Notre Dame. I know it's a big time program, but Notre Dame had been so bad for so long that as long as he went there and won 9 games a year, they weren't going to fire him, and they didn't. They had been through 75 coaches between Lou Holtz and Brian Kelly. So as long as Brian Kelly won 9 games a year there, he could have been there for 50 years because they'd been so bad for so long. So there was no pressure on him there. This LSU job is really the first time that he's expected to win. I would say he's on the hot seat, but I believe his buyout is $61 million. And LSU could probably afford to pay that. But at the same time, you pay him $61 million to not be your coach. Then all of a sudden, how are you going to pay all these new players that you have to pay now because of the whole NIL deal? So because his buyout is $60 million plus, I think Brian Kelly will be back next year. But depending on how much his buyout drops next year could be a make or break year for Brian Kelly. Same way for Lincoln Riley. If USC doesn't fire Lincoln Riley after their game next weekend, he better win at least 10 games next year or he's in trouble. But any thoughts on any of the NFL games or any early thoughts on the AP poll that came out today that I'm going to talk about probably more than likely tomorrow? Please feel free to let me know. Any thoughts about AEW? Let me know. To me, this is probably one of the worst pay-per-views they've had, and it wasn't bad. It's just typically AEW television programming is just average, but then when you watch the pay-per-views, they're great, and this one wasn't. It wasn't bad. It was 8 hours too long, like all of them are, but it just didn't have the shine that most of them have for whatever reason. Just didn't have it, but it wasn't bad. It was just nothing great. It was a whole lot more predictable than most of their pay-per-views. And I was kind of worried because I'm not a Jon Moxley fan at all. Never have been. But Orange Cassidy has no business being world champion. But I was convinced that since Tony Khan has no idea what he's doing, that he was going to give Orange Cassidy the belt. And I thought to myself, well, it's going to be a terrible idea. But luckily, Jon Moxley won the match. Hey there, Jamie. Glad to have you here. And you must be an Iowa State Cyclone fan. They are. I thought they had the Big 12 wrapped up, Jamie, when they started out 7-0. But then they lost 2 straight games. And I was like, well, there went that. I thought they were just going to fall apart. But luckily they've come back now and won their last 2. And now they're 9-2. And I believe they're in the driver's seat in the Big 12. But Iowa State and Arizona State and BYU and Colorado are all right there, neck and neck. The Eagles did win. I knew they would win. I just didn't know what the final score would be. But when they went up 37-14, I knew right then the game was over with. But the Eagles have looked really, really good. They started out 2-2, and then they had that bye week in week 5. And ever since that bye week, they've won 7 games in a row. And I tell you, the way it's looking now, of course, you never know, but the way it's looking now in the NFC, it's looking like it's going to be the Eagles against the Lions. And it looks like the AFC is going to be the Chiefs and the Bills. Those right now are the 2 best teams in the AFC and NFC. And right now, I'd probably give the Eagles a leg up on the Lions. I think they're a little bit better, but not by much. But the Lions are really good, and I would love to see the Lions win the whole thing just for a change. Arizona State and Iowa State control their fates. I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure. And hey there, Binky. Glad to have you here. And yeah, the Eagles and Lions played on Sunday Night Football. And I was watching the game up until the Eagles made it 30-14, and I knew then it was over. Then they scored again and made it 37-14. But at halftime, it was Eagles 13, Rams 7. Then the Eagles came out in the third quarter and scored 2 touchdowns in about 6 minutes. And I said, well, this game's over now because the Eagles have the number 1 defense in the NFL. So when they went up by 3 scores pretty much, I said, okay, well, this game's over. Everybody knew they were going to have a good offense, but I don't think anybody expected their defense to be this good with Vic Fangio's first year now. Vic Fangio's always been a good defensive coach, but you wouldn't think he'd have them number 1 in the NFL in his first year, but he does. Hey there, Keveron. Glad to have you here. And it is going to be an exciting Palmetto Bowl, Keveron. Thank you for tuning in, man. Hopefully you give the video a like and a thumbs up. I'm excited about this game because when Clemson plays Carolina, typically either both teams are just average, or you have one team that's really good and one team that's not. But this year, depending on what the playoff poll looks like when it comes out Tuesday night, I think personally both teams will be in the top 15. I see where they are in the AP poll, and the AP poll and the playoff poll are normally pretty close together. So I've got a feeling that the playoff poll comes out, they'll both be top 15. And this might be the first time, at least in my lifetime, that I can remember both teams being in the top 15. I've seen both teams be ranked, but it's normally, 20 through 25, or one team will be ranked top 5 and the other one will be ranked 25. But for both teams to be ranked top 15, this is going to be a really, really, really good game. And I'm glad the game is at noon. Typically, you don't want to play at noon on Saturdays because Fox has the big noon kickoff, so every single good game is on at noon. So it's too much competition. But this year, because of the game on Thanksgiving night and all the games on Friday, there's not as many games on Saturday. Now, you've got Ohio State and Michigan at noon, and I know a lot of folks are going to watch that game because those two teams hate each other. Ohio State don't even call them Michigan. They call them the team up north, and Michigan calls them the team down south. They don't even call each other by their names. But since Michigan is not any good at all, I really don't think that game is going to be close. And if it goes the way I think it's going to go, with Ohio State winning big, then even if people do watch Ohio State Michigan in the first half, they should have it on Clemson and South Carolina by the third quarter. So there should be a lot of eyeballs on the Palmetto Bowl on Saturday, and I think it's going to be a really, really good game. I have no idea who's favored. My guess is Clemson is favored by 2 or 3, only because they're the home team. If the Gamecocks were the home team, they'd be favored by 2 or 3. But it could go either way. I think it's going to come down to the wire. And as I sit here on this Sunday night / early Monday morning on the East Coast, I think Clemson wins by a field goal. But if the Gamecocks win, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And Jamie, you're right. I've made a video around about this time last night talking about Alabama after that game finished. And they didn't just get beat. They got dominated. They looked lost. I believe Jalen Milroe was 11 of 26 for 164 yards. He looked confused and lost and scared from snap one. So whatever Venables had the Sooner defense doing, it had Milroe all out of whack. He came out of the game late in the game. You could say it's because of the score, and you could say it's because he sucked, and both of them could be true. We'll never know which reason is the reason why he actually came out of the game, but I think it's because of what the score was. But their backup is not any good, but Milroe definitely had his worst game by far as a quarterback in college last night. He's had some bad games, but he ain't had anywhere he looked that bad. He looked awful Saturday night. And if Oklahoma could have played that good all year long, they may have had a pretty good season. Their offense still didn't do much, but their defense has been pretty good, but it ain't been that good. And 24 points like they scored last night would have won them probably 2 or 3 more games this year. So instead of being 6-5, they could be 8-3 or 9-2. And it is dumb, Jamie, for Georgia to play UMass, but every team in college football has one or two games a year. Like Clemson played the Citadel, and then yesterday South Carolina played Wofford. I think Bama played Mercer. I want to say it was last Saturday. Every team, Tennessee played UTEP yesterday. Every team has one or two games a year where you play some high school team, and you do it because you pay that team to come play you. It helps that team a lot of times stay above water because they're treading water financially. So by you paying them to come play you, you're helping them out to help their school go for another year or two. But also everybody does it because it's a game where pretty much everybody on your roster gets a chance to play. So the fourth and fifth string guys that never play get a chance to play in those games. And you do it because typically most of the time, hey there, Gator fan, glad you tuned in. Appreciate you being here again. I remember you commenting Saturday night. And a lot of times you do it like yesterday with Georgia playing UMass, Clemson playing Citadel, the Gamecocks playing Wofford, Tennessee playing UTEP. You do it a week before you play your rival so that if you have any guys that are injured, that are banged up, that have a chance to get back by your rivalry, you can sit them because if you can't beat Wofford or Mercer or the Citadel or UMass or UTEP with backup players, you're in pretty bad shape. But a lot of times it just gives you a chance to rest some guys that might be beat up and might need a week off. And it gives guys that never get to play a chance to play. I was watching Dabo Swinney's post-game press conference this afternoon, and he said that he got called into an office where the locker room is by a referee, and the referee told him, hey, there's an option to have it run a clock because of the score of the game. And Dabo said, I don't want to do that. I have no desire to go out there and score 80, but I've got a bunch of kids that don't get to play. And if I go out there and have a running clock, they still won't get to play. And if they do, they're only going to get to play for 4 or 5 plays because the half's going to be over in 45 minutes. So I don't want to do that. Let's act like it's a regular game. And I kind of see his point. We beat Alabama on Saturday. Yep, Ronnie, and I'm glad you did. Anytime Bama loses, I'm happy unless they play Georgia. When they play Georgia, I'm a Bama fan. That one time a year they play Georgia, I'm a Bama fan. That's the only time I pull for them. But some coaches will go with the running clock, so I've seen it both ways. But I kind of understand Dabo's point. You know, you schedule somebody like that, and you schedule them, especially for Clemson, it was senior day. So you've got a bunch of seniors that are only on the team because they live in the area and they've always had a desire to be a Tiger, so they go and they never get to play. And they're finishing their career playing their last home game. And if you don't play the Citadel, they don't play. And if you have a run a clock, they don't play. So I kind of understand Dabo's point of, hey, man, I've got kids that want to play, and this is the only time they're going to get to play. I don't want to run a clock, but I also understand if a coach says, yeah, just run the clock, because it makes the game end faster, so you've got less of a chance of the guys that are playing getting injured because instead of running 50 plays, second half, they're only going to run 25 because the clock doesn't stop. So I kind of understand it from either perspective, and neither way is right or wrong. It's just how the coach feels. But I can understand the coach feeling, either way. But every team you look in college football, there's not a team in college football that does not play 1 or 2 games a year against nobody's. Now, the ACC and the SEC doing it this late in the year is different. The Big 12 and the Big 10, they do it early in the year. The Big 12 and Big 10, they open up their season by playing, 2 or 3 nobodies. And then once they get to week 4 or 5, they start conference play, and then they're in conference play the rest of the season. Whereas the ACC and the SEC, they'll come out and start the season by playing, some high school team. And then they'll start conference play. And then they'll come back late in the season, right before their rivalry, and they'll play some nobody. So, two conferences do it one way, the other two do it another way. But there ain't a team in college football that does not play at least one nobody a year. Hey there, LeBron. Today's your birthday, so happy birthday to you, and thanks for tuning into the channel. Please give the video a like and a thumbs up if you have not yet subscribed. Please do so. Helps the channel out tremendously and takes about 2 seconds, and it does not cost you a dime. Share the video on all social media platforms. Tell your friends. Tell your family. We talk college football. We talk NFL. We talk wrestling. We talk baseball, talk basketball, talk NASCAR, and just about anything else in the world of sports. Those are the main ones, but I have done videos on boxing. I did one or two on tennis. I did one on golf. I think I did one on soccer one time, a long time ago, but it's been a while back. But usually if it's sports, if I know anything at all about it, I'm going to discuss it a little bit. If I don't know anything about it, I won't, because I feel stupid talking about it when I have no idea what's going on, like cricket. Somebody commented last week about cricket, and I really couldn't say anything because I know nothing about cricket. I've watched it. I can say that I've watched it. I've tried to get into it, but I just don't understand it. Hey there, Daniel. Glad to have you here on this Sunday night / Monday morning, depending on where you are right now. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. The good thing about rivalry weekend is that it starts coming up Tuesday night. So we have the Monday night football game coming up Monday night, and then we'll start rivalry week in college football on Tuesday night. We'll have college football Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then we'll have NFL on Thursday during the day, and then Thursday night you'll have a choice of the NFL game or the college game. And typically it's a pretty easy choice unless you have Amazon, because the NFL Thursday night game is usually on Amazon. So unless you got Amazon, it's college football or nothing. But this year the NFL Thursday night game is going to be on NBC. So you'll have the college football game, which is either going to be on ESPN or ESPN2, and then you'll have the NFL game on NBC, and then you have college football all day long on Friday, and one NFL game Friday afternoon, but it's going to be on Amazon, and it's not going to be a very good game because the Raiders are awful. Hey there, SK. Glad to have you here. And then you're going to have college football all day long on Saturday. So there'll be football on sun up to sundown pretty much. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday will be all college. Sunday will be all NFL. But Thursday and Friday you'll have both. So depending on which one you like better, you'll be set on Thursday and Friday. I'll probably watch the Lions Thanksgiving Day just because it's a tradition to watch the Lions. I won't watch the Cowboys because they're terrible and I just don't want to watch them. But now Thursday night, I'll probably watch the college game because if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to check out the schedule again because I might be wrong. I don't have it written in front of me, but I believe the Thursday night game in college is Memphis and Tulane. And those are two really, really, really good football teams. So that should be a good game. Plus, both teams want that win because Tulane right now is ranked. Not very high, but they are ranked. But they're the next group of 5 team in line behind Boise State. So if by some chance Boise State loses, Tulane needs this win, because if Boise State loses and Tulane wins, Tulane could be the highest ranked group of 5 team. I don't think Boise State's going to lose, but I mean, this year in college football, you just don't know. I didn't think they would struggle with Wyoming because Wyoming is awful. But The Broncos found a way to win, but they did more than struggle. They looked bad. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Thanks for all the ones that commented and gave the video a like and a thumbs up. If you subscribed during the video, I appreciate that as well. And like I said, probably on Monday sometime, I'm going to do a video about the AP poll. I always like to look and compare the AP poll with the playoff poll. They're generally pretty close together as far as teams, but they might be off by 2 or 3. So I like to look at them, talk about them, and compare. Pasta is so cheap in Italy, it only cost a penny. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. And I'm glad you're here, Gamecock fan. Come back later on in the week when we do a whole video where I'll talk about all the games coming up in the world of college football. And on that day, you can get on here and give me your prediction, not just for the Gamecock game, but any other game in the world of college football this week that you might be looking forward to. Bye.